Good evening and welcome to Lower Makefield Township Park and Recreation Board meeting for May of 2024. Call the meeting to order. Roll call on the line. We have member Kim Rock. Hi, Kim. And myself present here, Doug Kraus. And we also have our Director of Park and Rec, Monica Tierney. And I know that others will be joining shortly, and we'll let everybody know when they get in. So we don't have a quorum yet. So once we do, we'll be able to vote on anything that needs to be voted on. But in the interim, we will skip to our agenda item number 4, which is our liaison report. So I don't know if there's a CPA people here, but I don't know if you're here to present as PAA, give an update or. Okay. That's fine. So no other liaisons on the line from YMS. Okay. Monica, I guess we can start with the topics you want to cover, at least that don't require votes.
Okay.
Rob,
I'll just give you.
Rob can't find the Zoom link.
Do you see it on the agenda? What? Okay, so I'm going to skip over A and B right now and come back to that once we have a quorum. C is Macclesfield Park Master Plan update. I am not giving a full update today, other than the fact that we're going to have a presentation by JMT on June 11th. And also, as part of the Macclesfield Park Master Plan, there was discovery that the YMS lease needed to be reworked and reworded. It was designed with exclusivity in mind for YMS. Unfortunately, that's in violation of the DCNR funds that we received. Exclusivity is not allowed when you take funds from the state and purchase a park that way. So we've been working through that. The board had a lot of healthy discussion at the board meeting, and that topic has been tabled at the board meeting until this time. Like I said, again, the presentation by JMT will be June 11th, 2024. There is an opportunity online on the Macclesfield Park site to make some comment. The comment is still open, I believe. So if you have any comments on there, you can do that, or you can send me an email. That's fine too. So that's all I have for Macclesfield Park. Do you have any questions? Sure.
Lori Gray. I am a Lower Makefield resident, township member. So if it's going to be presented here at the next meeting on June 11th, I know there was the, public, open discussion and all of that. So I sit on the steering committee for the Macclesfield Park. So are we going to be told ahead of time what the final outcome is, or before it gets?
Well, there's no final outcome.
Okay.
Essentially, they're going to take the feedback from what they got and they'll bring that to the board meeting and present it. So any feedback, they're going to take that into account. If there needs to be any amendments, the steering committee will, I should have said that, I'm sorry. The steering committee will also be invited to attend that meeting. They'll be able to sit up here and be part of the discussion as well.
Okay, but that'll be the first time that the steering committee will be hearing all of the feedback. Then there's not going to be a steering committee meeting ahead of time.
No, there's not going to be a steering committee ahead of time. Although the feedback is live on our website, you can see what people are providing as feedback.
Yeah, I have gone out and looked at some of it, but all the feedback that was presented that evening, where people wrote on cards and did that. I haven't seen that up on the website.
Oh, then, okay. I actually, thank you. That's a reminder that I have to ask GMT for the minutes from that. Thank you.
Great. Good. Okay.
Let me just write myself a note, Lori.
Sure thing. Sure. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, thank
you.
Thank you, Lori.
I have a question on that if there's no other public.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have our meeting in June. We're going to have whatever comments we have. Are they then going to come back to us with modifications after our comments? Or no, will that be going straight to the Board of Supervisors?
Right now, as the RFP is written and as we've agreed to, it would go straight to the Board of Supervisors with your feedback incorporated into the plan.
So then can we
I
start,
thought-
can we,
I-
go ahead, Doug.
Yeah. I thought we had a conversation that. you-
Well, we had a conversation about it, but the RFP is written. I mean, it'd probably be an extra charge to the township if we change what our scope of what we want as far as work. So that's something to consider.
I just highly would recommend and would prefer that after the June 11th meeting, that any revisions that the consultant makes after we provide feedback, provide us a final review before it goes to the Board of Supervisors.
I mean, I can talk more to JMT about what that amending the RFP could mean more of an expense to the township. I could also talk to them maybe about sending the board all the what they've done as far as amendments after the
So then-
meeting.
I just don't want to send something to the Board of Supervisors that we haven't seen without our approval, right? We're gonna comment on the proposals they're making, and they're gonna make changes that we think they're gonna accommodate or may not be able to accommodate. But without seeing it, then the board here, I don't think, has the ability to provide a yes or no recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Yes, I understand. I'm just saying, as the RFP is written now, that is not the plan. So if we want to change the process, we'll have to go back to JMT for a change in process and potential. They might be sending us, an amendment to their proposal.
Okay. That's what I would prefer, but you have to, I guess, get that.
I'd
So
have
then-
to go through that process, yes.
And then would the Board of Supervisors have to approve that amendment?
Yes.
So then, I mean, Doug, we need to proceed as if that's not going to happen. I mean, because, so I really would like, I mean, I know, I think I appreciate all the hard work that went into the plan. I appreciate that there was a lot of aspects of the plan that weren't presented, meaning that I'm sure they came up with many, many different scenarios. I spoke with Rob. I've spoke with Matt Curtin. I spoke with George Schleben. I spoke with, I think, one or two other members of the board. But I know that, they didn't necessarily give all the different examples, all the different ideas that they had. And I know that they only presented, what they saw. But I mean, I have serious, serious concerns about the plan as it's written. The plan does not seem to be in line with play for all. The notion of play for all started with the first thing we need to do is land acquisition to expand our park offering, because we don't have a park offering. So to then skip that step and go straight to step two, which is a Makefield study, doesn't really make a ton of sense. They're proposing removing what they consider one baseball field, but it's really two baseball fields because it's a lighted baseball field. So like, right,
Michael, I know that you're saying
but-
proposing to have not proposed anything yet. I mean, there's only
Yeah,
drafts.
but
so-
Doug, if it's not coming back to us, I respectfully, it is proposed. It's up on the web, on the Township Zen City page, and looking for comments. It's going to come to us one time. So if we have things that we know we don't like about it, I want to get that to them now so they can start considering that now before they present to us. It does
I
not
mean-
make any sense to have them. We know what they're going to show us. They're not going to make. Monica, please correct me if I'm wrong. You're not expecting there to be significant changes in what they show us from what they showed a month and a half ago. Is that correct?
Probably not significant changes. They are listening to all of the feedback. So there's a lot of feedback about what you're talking about. I'm sure they're going back to do to the drawing board on some of those things, but I imagine that it won't be significant at this point.
Would it still contemplate getting rid of all parking between football and soccer?
I don't know. I'm not the designer.
And I'd
Okay.
rather not hash out every detail of the plan. I mean, that's the purpose of them coming in next month to present and allow us
But-
and the public to give final thoughts and comments. Because again, that's the opportunity, is to see what's up on the site now. Make sure your comments are well pointed, directed, and give them that opportunity to answer and give feedback based on what you think needs to be changed, because I think there's other board members that will also have comment, and there'll be other members of the public that will have comment. And that's why it's important that I stress to Monica and the rest of the board that it's important that they come back, right? Because I will not approve anything that doesn't come back to the Park and Rec Board. I will give a blanket, no, we don't approve if we don't see something that comes back. I don't think it's in our best interest to just give feedback and then let the consultant present directly to the Board of Supervisors without giving us a final proposal.
The supervisor Ross on the call?
I don't believe Matt is on the call. Rob did sign in, however. Rob Labar is here.
I'm
Now we
here.
can vote, so.
All right, well, I mean, if we don't even have a supervisor on the call, then it's going to be hard to get any feedback on what the supervisors would potentially do in terms of approving any sort of increase to this. But okay.
Any other comment on what Monica's covered so far? You want me to go back? You want to keep going, or you want me to go back to the meeting minutes and vote?
It's up to you. Entirely up to you.
Oh, you're on a roll. Let's
Oh,
keep
all
going.
right. We'll keep on going. I will do everything else on the list in hopes that maybe we get someone else onto the call. If not, I'll go back, wrap back around A and B. So 5 Mile Woods update. So you just want me to hop back up to A? Okay.
I'm just saying we have enough for a quorum.
Okay. Yeah, we were on C, Macclesfield Park Plan update. So if you do have public comment, you.
Sure.
Mhm.
Hi, so I'm Matt Curtin. I'm the commissioner of Pennsbury Athletic Association. I have a few other members of our executive board here, Brian Parker, our treasurer, and Mike Spillane and Matt Nafee, who are 2 of our vice commissioners. So I appreciate we've had some input in the steering committee. We've been longtime partners of the township, as I think everybody knows. We have over 600 families that participate, in our programmings between the spring and fall every year. And we have a lot of concerns with the proposal that was presented, at the open forum at the community center. We don't necessarily feel that it meets all of the objectives that it was set out to meet as a macro principle. And we also don't think it even accomplishes a lot of sort of the softer things, in particular, as Mike Brody indicated, we're losing a field under that proposal. It's a lighted field. It's a 50/70 convertible that we use for all of our age groups, from 7-year-olds up to 12-year-olds. It's probably our best field, right? In that it has lights, and where it's located, the lights are not offensive to anybody, right? It backs up against the railroad tracks, the canal, and then the bend in the parking lot. And it's surrounded by lights for Mac Turf and the 60/90 field that faces River Road. So in terms of our goal of improving the experience for residents, we think that's the least invasive of all the fields that we currently have. We also sort of have concerns that, part of the use in the removal of that field is for a wraparound of the entranceway that will go all the way around. In my conversations with our consultants, they didn't feel that there was a way to accomplish that without removing the field. And so I do not believe that we're going to see any proposals back from them, despite any public comment that doesn't include that, because it would be a wholesale change, which I don't believe is practical at this stage. So in our opinion, it's that or nothing is what we're ultimately going to end up. And I'm open to being wrong about that. But and if that's the case, we are opposed. Again, I think it has to do with, we feel like, and if you look at some of the other stuff that's come up in the work Parks and Rec has done, we're short lighted fields. So giving up one that is utilized without causing infringement on neighbors feels like a step in the wrong direction. It also, from a cost perspective, while those lights have been there for a long time and they're not ideal in terms of what modern technology would be, it is a lighted field and the cost to replace them is material. I also feel as though like the overall cost of this plan, once you factor in the loss of lights, the potential of having to replace those lights somewhere else, the loss of a field, if we're going to build a new field, the cost of that, and frankly, from at least our perspective, the minimal benefit in adding parking in that area, because from our experience in Mac, when we are playing baseball on the 60-90 field, there's very few people who are willing to park along either of those fields because of all the foul balls that come over without netting. And so we sort of have the opinion from experience that you could take that field out and you can do a wraparound driveway entrance and you can add parking. But if we're playing baseball on 60-90 with lights, we think there's going to be very few people who are actually willing practically to utilize that parking. We also feel like if there's a congestion issue at Mac, we don't think we are contributing materially to that in terms of the time and scope of our programming there, although we're happy to look at that. So we don't think this is going to materially address some of the concerns that have been expressed around reducing congestion. So those are our thoughts. I appreciate that. We will put this on the website, but I wanted to share that and sort of put that out there for discussion and consideration. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I'll share that with the consultants.
I appreciate you coming out, and again, I encourage you to come back at the meeting and make sure that you know, you have an opportunity to ask those questions directly of the consultants, right? So they'll have the information ahead of time. So either they'll be able to address that or provide alternative solutions, and that's what we're hoping to get. Right? Is, hey, if there's a different way to skin the cat, let's let them take a look at it. If there's a phased approach, you know, I'm open to different suggestions, but I want to hear from them and their thought, and you know, if they're the experts, understand why they're doing it one way versus another way, right? So that's what we're paying them for. So. Any other comment on 3 or C rather? All right, you want to keep going on your?
Yep, I'll go back and wrap around to A and B last. 5 Mile Woods update. We did have a very successful work day out at 5 Mile Woods on Saturday, run by the Friends of 5 Mile Woods. The great thing is that we were able to get a Bowman's Hill plant grant. It was about, I think, 90 plants in total that we were able to plant along the paths and, you know, implement within some going on there at the park. Also, we're hoping to reapply for that same plant grant again next year to help with another project that we're working on. So it was a very big success. It was very nice grant. It was great of Bowman's Hill to work with us. And thank you to the volunteers who came out for that program. Summer programming is moving right along. We did have a pickleball palooza last weekend. It was very successful, well attended. Very happy with for a first time program. I think things went very well. So we did have that also on May 11th. May 11th was a very busy day for us here in the parks. And we have a bunch of programming coming up. We're preparing for summer camp. As I said, summer camp is full. Right now, all of the paperwork is coming in for summer camp. We're working on wrapping up all of our hiring. We did hire a director, which we're very excited about for summer camp. And we have 2 pending manager role positions that we're hoping that we'll be filling those in the next few days. So feeling good about that, about summer camp. As far as pool, we are behind in registration. As mentioned before, the report that I gave the board was about a week ago. About a week ago, we were 2,541 members shy of where we were last year. And on the revenue side of things, we were about $168,417 shy of where we were last year. Now, I do attribute that to a couple of things. We got rid of discount periods, so people are registering differently. Our registration has wasn't like burst and then there was a gap where no one was registering. It kind of stayed consistent all the way through. We also, it was cold. Every time we're cold, we're always slow with registration. It's been cold and rainy. We're always slow. And the increased fees. So those are some of the reasons why I do think we're a little slower. This last week, we started running contests. One of the contests was, if you register by Sunday at midnight, then you could win parking passes. We had 18 people who won 1 month long of parking right in front of the entrance at the pool. That drove revenue significantly. We had about $30,000 in revenue over the weekend for that one. We have another one running right now that we're calling it a party starter kit. So you could win a 3-hour-long reservation and a book of passes as a party starter kit, and you'd be the first to be able to get pavilion rentals at the pool this summer. We're giving out 3 of those. So we're trying to do these things to start to drive people to register in time to be able to get in the pool for Memorial Day, because there's a lot of processing of paperwork and we really want to make sure that everybody has a key fob and can get into the pool. Our gap has come down significantly. Financial gap as of today, a few minutes ago, was $92,032. And so that gap has closed quite a bit. And
Question on that. So
yes,
based on how many registrations you have now and revenue, what would be the average per, what's the quick math, like you
oh,
said?
you're going to make me do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you do math. How many registrations I'll do it real quick.
Thank you. And then
Oh, what's the number?
the gap,
No,
the
what's how
numbers.
many dollars have you registered or have you have already?
right now we have 668,923,
923, and how many registrations?
44,277
It's like $156 per,
average. Yeah.
and you're short 92, so 92,000 divided by, you need about another 589 members.
To be on point with revenue, not on point with revenue to last year. Now, the idea of raising the rates was that we would generate
I understand.
more revenue than where we were last year.
Like a,
But I'm trying to give you benchmarks to be able to take a look at. So
like the monthly, they run on the radio, try to get people to donate, right? So
yeah. So registration is picking up. We're very busy in the office. Everything, that financial gap is definitely closing quickly. People are coming in. What we've also done a little differently this year, knowing that there was no discount period and we didn't have that big discount period rush, is we're trying to close the gap and make it a little easier for people to register day of and attend the pool. Historically, we really haven't been able to do that well. So if someone comes that day, it's 90 degrees and they want a membership, we really haven't been able to process memberships on site. We changed a few things around with the way that we're operating at the, we're putting a couple people in charge of the gates that will be able to process registration and will be the liaison between the office and the pool. And that way we can seamlessly process registrations down on site at the pool at any time. So that's kind of what we're doing to try and streamline that. And I'm hoping that will help us out this summer. So that's a little bit of a change. The next thing I wanted to, oh, I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions about any of those things? I'm going fast. I'm on a roll. No? Okay, great. The next thing I wanted to bring to the board is the recommendation to switch from using rubberized surface to a so it's called soft surface tiling as far as Memorial Park. And I brought some samples here because it's really hard to understand. So I feel like a salesman, but I'm really not a salesman. I just want to make sure the board fully understands what we're looking to do. So we around, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, was it that the playground at Memorial Park was installed? Do you know, Doug?
the road tour package.
So, That was about 8 or 9 years ago, and those surfaces should last 15 to 20 years. And unfortunately, with time, we found that it did not last 15 to 20 years. We're in a place where there's holes in the system. It's hard to get people to patch those holes because they don't want to, the company who installed it is now out of business, and the rubber surface has all split, and it's just not in good condition. So we did set aside money in the budget this year to replace that surface, which is our full official ADA accessible playground, and switch it to what we call a tile surface. And I was very nervous about switching to a tile surface because of the temperature and the weather here, and the expansion of the joints. And so I did a lot of research. I've reached out to other municipalities in the area, and I feel very comfortable with this as a change. It's basically a tile system. So tiles are much larger than this. I believe there's something like 2 feet by 2 feet or 3 feet by 3 feet. And they kind of clip together, and they use a curbing that goes all the way around the park that squeezes them together tighter than they should be, so that when expansion happens in the temperature shift, they do not separate. I did reach out to a park system in New Jersey who switched to these, and now every single one of their playgrounds are made of these surface. And the great thing about them is if you do have a problem with a tile, for instance, they had someone spill a mass amount of paint on a bunch of tiles at one of their playgrounds. They just popped those tiles out, replaced them with the same colors, and it was just something that was easy to do. And I feel that maintenance-wise, this type of tile surface will be so much easier for our staff to use all the way across the board, and we'll always be able to have that, nice playground that we invested in so many years ago. With putting in a new surface, there are some things that, we would have to do as a staff. There is an old fence that's a little bit rotten around the park that we're going to replace, which won't take much from our staff. And there are 2 pieces of play equipment who have faded over time. They're a little bit of an artistic piece of play equipment. So we have an artist that I know, and I'm going to ask him if he'd be willing to paint those in a, like a nice way to spruce them up. So that would be something that we'd be looking at to do beforehand. The one thing about this is we did budget $330,000 total dollars to replace the surface and add shade. This will eat a little bit more of that budget than we had anticipated for surfacing. We would still be able to do a small shade structure out there with this. This is a CoStarz quote. So, and also I have a shade structure CoStarz quote that would help. We would still be able to do a small shade structure. We probably just won't be able to do as much as we were anticipating doing this year. And Doug, since you're here, if you want to touch and feel, if anybody in the audience wants to touch and feel, this is what the tile looks like. It has all of the playground requirements that we need. And then there's some color. There's a color palette if anybody wants to look. You can, yeah, well, it feels hard, but it's playground rated. Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to, allow you to see what it is, ask any questions about it. I did bring the Public Works Director out on site when I had soft serve here to also get his second opinion. I wanted to see how he felt about it. And generally, he thought it was a really great, as far as maintenance goes, idea. They can do all kinds of designs for us. They proposed a design, but we can always change what it is. They try to keep it similar looking in a pixelated way to what we have out there now. So
Is there any, if you went with, it doesn't matter if you went design or single, like if you just went straight, I think the one picture I sent you from that one place in Hillsborough was just all same color.
we could do single color, but there's no price difference. So if we did all red and we wanted red, green, and yellow, we could still have red, green, and yellow and keep it the same price. So it doesn't matter. Now, what would be the least expensive would be to do an all black surface. So if we did an all black surface, there would be less of a cost to that. Or there's a.
How much less? Does that get you back to the shade structure we need? I'm just asking the question.
Not much more than what we can do with this quote now. Yeah.
And then for future, since you kind of said it was a specialized, like, way they need to put it all together, right? So from a replacement perspective, is that something our staff
They would train our staff.
have to be trained?
So the manufacturer would install and train our staff how to replace a tile. They did show Derek while we were out there how we would have to, what would happen, how we would have to do it. Derek felt very comfortable with the process. So I just, right now with what we have, we really can't do much. If there's a big area that needs to be fixed, we've tried a couple of different things.
I'm just, it's more of we put something in and there's always the ongoing maintenance that we don't necessarily do a
Yeah.
good job budgeting for. So
This
it's just-
also has a long warranty because it's being installed by the manufacturer. They guarantee it for a longer time. I just can't remember what that is. I believe it's something like 10 to 15 years.
Is that parts and labor? So if a part goes bad and they
Yeah,
replace
they
the
would do
part?
Parts and labor, I believe.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. And I will try and look for that real quick.
I mean, is there fading? Like, again, if you have one color, but if you have different colors and then fading, I don't know what.
Yeah,
they're-
this is more guaranteed for fading. Now there's another version. This is the less expensive, but there's some flaws with this. Doesn't last as long. So there's that option also. But like I said, when I brought Derek out there, he's like, oh, you gotta go with better quality.
None of the equipment's changed. Is any of the equipment changed?
None of the equipment will change.
Do we need to vote on this?
Just the change in scope, sure. If you guys are all open to,
Well, someone's got to make a motion and then then we got to
Yeah.
open it up for comment. So
I'll make a motion to proceed with some changes.
motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Do you have any comment on Monica's proposal for the EDA playground from the board members?
I just have a question about the,
Monica,
oh, sorry. I'm talking over
go
someone.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I knew you said all black would be less expensive. Is there any concern though with the lack of shade that the black would then attract more heat?
I have concern. When I asked soft surface, they said the temperature difference isn't that great. But I didn't feel comfortable putting a black surface on it. To me, it just makes sense not to do black. There are municipalities that do all black, or there's a lesser, if you do with just speckle of color instead of, like, so it's mostly black, with a speckle, that is also a little less expensive. But to me, I'm concerned. They aren't.
I am too.
I think the picture I had, it was.
Monica, it's Rob. I have a question
Yes.
with regard. So when we put the original surface, what was the expectation of how long it was supposed to last?
To be honest, Rob, I wasn't here at that time.
Okay.
So I don't know what the discussion was, so I can't adequately
So-
answer that question.
And we can't replace it because now the company's out of business?
They have poured in place. There are different companies who do pour it in place. I was just knowing what we've been through with this poured in place and how large the surface is in particular. This is a large playground. I was nervous to go back to full poured in place again, and then have
No, and
to worry about the same type of situation.
and,
But
and my question, it seems like there's occasional projects that we have that we put money into and either the company goes bankrupt or there's problems with this. So do you think this new proposal, you said there's a guarantee of 10 to 15 years or whatever, do you think that, covers us so that we have a great playground that's usable, that we're not having additional issues with?
I mean, everybody I've talked to who has soft surface is very, very happy. I really wanted to make sure I did my due diligence going into a change and putting something in front of you. So it seems as the company itself is based in Canada that makes these. They are used to extreme cold weather. They've been around for some time now. I don't know how long. I do remember him saying how long, but they've been around for some time. I feel comfortable personally with this company, but you know, if you don't, if that's fine too.
No, I'm, you know, I defer to your judgment. You have, you know, done the research. I just want to make sure that, you know, if we're investing this money, that we're getting the best product that we can for what we need. So,
Have the
Yeah,
other municipalities that you talked to had it for like an extended period of time, or is it more relatively new?
Well, the ones that I talked to were all in the US, so they're relatively new. So I'm looking for a contact who has had the Surface a little longer. So before I fully bring this to the Board of Supervisors, which wouldn't be tomorrow, it'd be in a couple weeks. I hope to do a site visit and try and reach out to someone who's had one a little longer than 3, 4, 5 years.
I think the concept of it is great, especially when you can pop out one that's damaged, because that seems like long-term maintenance, we would save a lot over time.
I mean, I just looked on their website. I mean, they've been around for 25 years.
25 years.
So they're not, so you're not going to find anything longer in existence than that. So.
And I believe New York City has also switched to only using their product. So every playground that they have or needs replacement gets replaced with soft surface tiling.
Any other comments from the board?
that's all I had.
One design wise, maybe we should consider like a random pattern so that like if you have a all solid color, they will have fade, I would think. So if you end up having to change,
Is your mic on? Okay.
if you had to change later down the road, it would probably look a different color. So if you did sort of like randomly placed, then if you replace a tile, it probably won't be as noticeable. Sorry, I ran here.
Yeah.
For the shade structure, I wouldn't want to make a smaller shade structure. The one, like, I haven't been at that park for a while because like my kids grew out of it, but it's unbearable. So I would want to see that even if we went smaller, that we either put an infrastructure into place that we could expand when we have more money, or I'd rather see us build infrastructure, but like make that a next year project. I just think the shade structure is really important, and like they're both really important. I'd rather split it up than get like, you know, everybody standing under this tiny shade structure.
So we were, as far as shade structure, I was looking at having a few scattered around. So this would be first one, maybe, and then there'd be more added with time. It's just, we wouldn't be able, ideally, I would have had 3 or 4 this year. This year, we might start with 1.
Any public comment? Anybody on the line? I don't see the red line on. Nope. I guess we can vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the I guess what do we call it? The bid for soft surfaces for the Playground Memorial Park, please say aye. Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? None? If then, motion passes.
Thank you very much. The next one is pickleball rules. So we had a set of rules on our website that needed to be updated since we started the court reserve system. So there's very minor updates to the original rules that we had on place, but we did want to set some rules as we moved into the rental. The rental was approved at the Board of Supervisor meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. It might even be 3 weeks ago now at this point. I just wanted to kind of come to the board with what we're looking at doing for rentals and how we plan to implement that in the office. So that's what I have before you today. I don't know, Doug, how would you like me, would you want me to go over the new rules, or do you want me
So
to?
there, I guess instead of going through all the guidelines, right, are there,
I probably the rental rules is the only thing that's
I
a
was gonna ask, is there anything that what's changed versus prior?
just mostly the rental rules, because there didn't exist prior. Everything else is the same except for just small minor edits that, we say court reserve instead of meet up or,
Because the court reserve has a financial impact, right? Because meetup, other than paying the membership fee, but then the court reserve, you pay the membership fee, and then the only other changes from a financial is when you rent, right?
when you rent. Yep, yep. So it's going to take us a few weeks to get the rentals up. It takes a little while to get it all into the system and get it moving. So we're only renting 3 of the 4 courts at Memorial Park for right now. The 1 court will stay open all the time. Of course, that court is a little less usable at the moment. So that's where we're at this current moment. During rental times, 1 court, I already said that. A schedule will be available on our website for scanning or for with a QR code. We'll also have a live embedded schedule on our website. Rentals will be enforced through the court reserve application. Rental time is limited to 2 hours per day. Rentals may only be made during park hours and when there are no scheduled classes, programs, or events. Each rental can reserve 1 court at a time.
So is it each renter or what is it?
1 renter. So like Doug would only be able to rent 1 court at a time.
You're calling a renter a rental or each rental?
We can make amendment to that. LMT pickleball members can reserve a court 2 weeks in advance. Non-members can reserve a court 1 week in advance. That's a membership perk. Rentals will be responsible for cleanup of courts following rental times. Lessons must be held in conjunction with LMT Parks and Recreation. If you would like to offer lessons, please contact prinfo@lmt.org. No refunds, inclement weather, or no refunds for inclement weather rentals. They will not be reimbursed, but you will have the ability to reschedule. The only refund exception would be with a doctor's note, which is how we do everything. So that's how we do it for the pool, how we do for everything else. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Anybody have any questions on the line? And in public comment?
Hello. Hi. I'm Sue Fawcett, a township resident and volunteer for the township helping organize the advanced level pickleball group. I'd like to reopen the discussion for pickleball fees, which applies directly to this. In addition to the unreasonable increase of $120 per year, the township has approved court fee rentals. The rentals were approved by the Board of Supervisors, as you stated, on May 1st, and I don't appreciate that the increase was hidden under item 10B as Resolution 2412, amending the Lower Makefield Township fee schedule. I also don't appreciate the berating I received at the April 9th board meeting for expressing a strong disapproval of the proposed rental fees. My advanced level group has disappeared due to the fee increase. Attendance at the advanced level sessions is 0. Intermediate level group attendance has also significantly decreased. Memberships are not being renewed and members are leaving in droves to play at Middletown Township and elsewhere. In fact, the May 9th edition of the Bucks County Herald shows several Lower Makefield Township players in their article about pickleball play at Firefighters Park at Middletown. The pickleball courts are shared with tennis as a multi-purpose facility. There are no fees for tennis players who play on the same courts. I can only assume that the township is discriminating against pickleball. Tennis and pickleball players are often at odds with one another, so this situation is not uncommon. However, discrimination at this level will not be tolerated. An example of discrimination, like you have a porta potty at the tennis court on Schuyler Drive. The porta potty at the Cardinal Drive tennis/pickleball court was removed. The tennis, also going back to the tennis court on Schuyler Drive is also under agreement with a private company, YM Tennis. YM Tennis has a sign showing the hours of operation. There are no signs indicating this is a public court. I've complained about this before, so this is the second time a sign was posted. Anyone seeing this sign would assume this is a private facility. This is a public court that was funded with public money. The contract is not publicly visible on the website, but you might not show all the courts. But on May 1st, the Board of Supervisors meeting stopped the amendment of the YMS, which is a soccer team agreement for use of public funding on private games. Monica, you mentioned this before. And without the ability to review the agreement, I believe YM Tennis has the same issue and should be reviewed by the township solicitor. Because getting back to revenue, how much revenue is the township getting from YM Tennis? If that amount is acceptable for tennis, then split that cost with pickleball. That take half the amount divided by the 458 members we had before the fee increase, and I'll bet it's like an insignificant amount. So what I say is improving the courts, also getting back to improving the courts falls under capital improvement. We already have a decent court on Schuyler Drive. All we need to do is have pickleball court lines. I was discouraged from doing this due to concerns about conflict with tennis players. Again, this appears to be a form of discrimination. The tennis court is unoccupied, except for the very few times YM Tennis is holding a session. There is no reason that the court can't be used for pickleball. The court will be occupied year-round instead of a few months just for tennis. This is much better utilization of the township inventory. So I would just say, please make a motion to amend the township fee schedule for pickleball to 0 for all entries. And if you don't like 0, then make it the same as Middletown Township, which is $42 for residents and $63 for non-residents per year. Okay, so I've expressed my opinion, and I say I'm very upset because I can't play pickleball in Lower Makefield at the level I'd like to play at.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I don't know what the membership level is at now for LMT pickleball.
As of the 23rd of April, it was 286.
Yeah, and how many inactive members in court reserve? Because that shows how many people have not renewed. They go to inactive status.
Well, we were at how many? We were prior.
Before, it was at 460 last year, 2023, end of year.
We're down 180 some odd members.
As of April.
Do we still
People
have
can
full reserve
sign-
spots?
What?
Do we still have reservation problems with this steep decrease in pickleball players?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We have complaints. Actually, I had a complaint today. Specifically, I can never get on the court. I don't know how I'm ever going to get time on the court. So, I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
We've had, I say, opening more courts, like say, opening even the township tennis court, which is lit. Stripe that. The cost for striping a court is under $2,000, just based on a quick Google search. That's nothing compared to expenses for other sports.
And
So I'm
I just
proposing
wanna-
that.
do you mind, Doug, if I clarify the YMS agreement? Because I think there's some confusion.
Yeah,
about
yeah,
what
please
that
do.
is. YMS invested in turf, purchased turf at YMCA. It was over $1 million, 1.5, I think, $1 million project. They purchased that turf. The township created an agreement with them that they have exclusive use, meaning when they're not using that turf, no one else can use it. It is okay and acceptable by DCNR for us to have leagues where the leagues have agreements on the field. They can use the fields, just like PAA. PAA is on the field certain number of hours. When they're not there, if a mom or a dad wants to play baseball or softball with their kids, they still can. That's acceptable. That's okay. So what we're doing with pickleball is okay. There's still public courts, accessible. There's free time. It's completely okay. We're also okay to rent pavilions or rent facilities. That is also okay. If there are not rented and there are not any of the clubs on there and there's open courts, it would not be okay for us to say, no, you can't play on these. It's okay for us to have the dog park. The dog park is locked. We're allowed to have a membership. What is not okay for us to not allow non-residents to participate in our membership program.
Okay, because how are you going to, again, like I mentioned last month, you have a person who rented a court and a person who just shows up and they say, oh, look, I rented it. Can you please leave? And the person's going to say, no, I'm here to play. So there's going
Then
to be a
that
lot of,
person has the right to call the police or call the
Well,
office.
well, meantime, you've lost all that. Oh, by the way, the dog park in Morrisville is free. anyway, just wanted to mention that.
We're not Morris.
I know.
So,
Okay, but I'm expressing a lot of frustration, and I do represent a lot of the people who've saying I would be at the meeting tonight, and they all said, yes, they're also very upset at the fee. It's not the money, it's the principle. So I mean, I did pay for membership in Middletown Township. So I'm trying to help get something more reasonable on the table here to amend that fee schedule. So, okay.
I appreciate your comments. I'm a pickleball player as well, and I understand your plight. I've heard it from others that I play with as well that live in this township or play in this township, and that, yes, do we have an opportunity to improve the court situation? We've brought this up numerous times, and
Yes,
so
yes.
it's not, you're not the first person that's brought it up.
I know, but
Right.
and
So
it reached a breaking point with me. And because the number one complaint is facilities. And I just see this beautiful court striped for tennis, and we can use it year round. So, and also one that the township has lit. So I'm just expressing the opinions of many other people. So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next. You want my?
I am Anthony Romanoli. I live at 1058 North Kimball's. Here to make a comment on the pickleball situation, but I don't play pickleball. I'm here because people had asked me to make a comment. I just came from the courts to talk to some people there. They were surprised to know that they were going to be charged for this. They had no idea about the reservation system. They're people who live in our town. I looked into the situation, and my occupation is to help companies become efficient. And the best system is the simplest system that gets the job done. And this seems like an overkill to me. It's like a hammer trying to kill an ant. I think, you have dollars exchanging, you have cancellations, rain, refunds, you have people administering it. All these things don't exist in a lot of parts of our country. The people on the court today told me that they go to Florida, and they don't have any system like this where they're playing. There's other ways to kind of mete out the time on the court. So I think you're running into an elasticity of demand in many areas. You could see here, 140, is 140 or 180 people left? Less? That's relatively significant drop. For people, you're trying to offer Parks and Recreation a way to stay in shape and to be healthy. The pool situation is the other one. I mean, you're running into elasticity of demand where probably you raise the fee to a point where you turn people away, and before long, you actually have less money than you had before, even though your fixed costs are the same. So I just wanted to make that point. It seemed like it was overkill. I used to live in Skillman, New Jersey, and we had a situation like this on the tennis courts, and they put in a system like this, and it never really solved the problem. People were still yelling at each other. People were still not getting onto the courts. I mean, you're going to call the cops every time somebody comes. How many people actually are complaining about this? And was it the same people complaining all the time? Because we're adults, right? You go on the court, and your sign says 1 hour. You play your hour, you get off the court. You don't get off the court, you kindly ask the people, and if not, then maybe you can call the police. But how often is that going to happen? So the bottom line is, I think this is a little bit overkill, and I think it's a bit of a disservice to our town for people who are actually already paid for the courts. Thank you.
I just want to say, like, I'll speak for myself. Like, we didn't want to make any of these increases that we made. The townships left us in a position where we don't have enough money. We aren't making enough money, and we can't just build a dump. Nobody's going to build a dump. We're going to fight any cell tower or anything that comes into this township to try to prevent more business and more money to come into the township. And so, when I joined the board 5 years ago, maybe 6 now or something like that. I know Monica's been here about 8 years now, right? We used to have a car repairman fix the slides at the swimming pool. We saved many thousands of dollars, but you know, I'm not sure if you're calling your car repair guy to come set up your place set at your house. So, you know, we've kind of been left in a certain situation where we have to take appropriate action. At the last meeting when Sue was there, we asked for her opinion on how to handle the problem. In case you don't know, the problem that we're having is we have just a reserve system with no fees whatsoever. And what companies do, and there's actually, I always use the Open Table example. We know of a restaurant. So right now you could go onto Open Table and book a reservation for free. Or I could start a company where I book that reservation and now I sell that reservation. And that's what we're finding people are doing. And people are making competing reservations off the back of our system. And now you have 4 people showing up with, oh, I got a reservation. So like, is charging 10, 15 bucks for people who like are using township land, is that a great idea? No, it doesn't really feel like it, but you know, the truth of the matter is we have way too many people. Sue comes up, Sue's told us she plays pickleball almost every day of the year, right? So if Sue's playing every day of the year, I know that my kids play baseball. I can't get on a baseball field every day of the year. Like that option doesn't exist to most people. So when I sit here and think about the fact that for team sports, I play $65 for the spring for my son, $65 for the spring for my daughter. If they play soccer or football also, I pay another $65 for that same season. I get field time a few days a week, not every day a week. I might not even get quality field time. And I'm paying, and then I pay, if we play fall sports, I play that again. So I'm paying all these different fees. I don't get to use the court every day of the year. So I don't disagree. I didn't want to raise the fees, but one of the great things I heard about this township when I moved here 10 years ago was how nobody ever raised taxes and how, you know, how cheap the pool has always been. Well, you know what? Like, that's great. For 30 years, everything was really cheap here and everything was awesome. Well, now those bills came due. So we sold a sewer system, you know, and now we have to raise all of our rates across the board. So I agree. It stinks.
Look, I understand you guys have budget issues and you're kind of cornered that way. And I know there's no easy solution. But I think on this one, the amount of fees we're talking about were relatively small. I think that what I understand you were trying to solve is the fact that people were crowding the courts and keeping them all day. And that's what I thought you're solving for.
No,
Here's the situation. They're not they're not reservation systems that are being used. They're basically organizational. There's apps that you can organize a group, right? And that group can say, hey, court times are available to the public between, you know, 1 and 5. So they put up time and say, hey, let's go over to these courts from 2 to 4, right? They don't have a reservation. They're not a member of Loyalty Pickleball, but there's an app out on the market and people use them to organize their activities. And it's not just related to pickleball. So they come and they play. They're not necessarily violating anything. It's open to the public and they're coming and playing, right? But other people that might want to get there could be perceived that, oh, I have a reservation. So this is our group. We're playing here for the next 2 hours. We have the court time. So this is a test. That's what the fees were put in place for with a reservation system to see if that solves the problem, right? And just to your point, it might be more work to do the reservation system than to eliminate the problem. But this is our attempt to see if that does make a difference, right? So if someone wants to go play and they want to make a reservation and pay whatever the fees were assigned, it's not related to the membership that the pickleball, like the club, they still have all their same, you know, intermediate, advanced, beginner sessions. They didn't lose any of them, right? So these were the times that were open to the public. So if someone says, I really want to play pickleball, I don't want to deal with showing up there and find, it's like you go to Pennsbury Racket Club and you want to go play tennis, right? You call, you make a reservation for tennis court. And similarly there, I know I can get a tennis court if I make a reservation. I want to play every week from this time to this time. And that's the comparison that I would look at. It's not, hey, I'm going to show up at the tennis court and hope that it's available. Because if it's not, you know, when I'm younger, when I had my kids, I'd show up at this tennis court. It's not available. I'm going to drive over to Schuyler. Oh, someone's on that one. I'm going to drive over to Revere. And you could drive around the 3 courts and then find out, I'm not playing tennis that day because none of the courts are available. So it gives somebody an opportunity. I'm not saying it's going to solve maybe the problem they have, but that was the reason we put it in place. It's a test. If it doesn't work, and then, it wasn't about the money. It was really to solve the other issue that we were faced with. If that explains that a little bit better.
Yeah, I get it.
So on
If
top,
it's not about the money, then why charge money?
Because if you don't, nobody has a skin in the game. If I just make a reservation, I have, I'll just cancel. So the court reserve system, you have a credit card on file, you make a reservation. If you cancel, I think you just get credit. So I think if you don't put any fee in the place, people will book everything up and there's no, they don't show up. It's no harm, no foul, right? So.
Sorry, Mike.
and just on top of what Doug was saying, there'd be a group doing that, then there's another group doing that, and then both groups show up at the same time, then they're arguing over who has a reservation when there was no they never even made, so like there's things like that happening at the courts that maybe Sue is not privy to because she's there at certain times, or maybe, other people are not, but we get the phone calls. Like our office is the one who gets all of those complaints. I never can get court time. You guys book the courts all the time. And I say, well, actually, it's not us booking the courts. It's, these other groups. So that's part of the issue too.
So, and again, with the general fees, I don't disagree. Like as Michael explained, like fees, at the end of the day, the Board of Supervisors approve the fees, right? We put forth the recommendations. We did not want to raise the fees as we did, right? But at the end of the day, costs go up and, the township isn't in the business of losing money, right? So at the end of the day, their membership. So we're trying to make sure that the people that use the facilities are covering the majority of the costs. And it's not necessarily, the township's not set up to subsidize everybody's activities, right? So.
Yeah, then why is it public? I guess,
Well, not everything is, it's,
sell it, sell the courts, sell the pools, you sell these.
you can, but then you might not want to live here, so.
I mean, it's like I said, it's a public service. And I think people are getting mad when they find out they have to pay. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a lot less than you would go to a private location. It's nominal. It's a nominal fee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I encourage you to go to the
Can I
Board of
interject, Tim?
Supervisors. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
And along that lines, that was discussed with like the pool situation, we raised the pool fees, but there's filters that I think it was $300,000 last year that came due. There's another one that's coming due here. We talked about, is it worth it for us to be in that service? And we decided we would, but in order to make sure that we're maintaining the facilities to the way that people want, there has to be fees, or, people have to, accept that their taxes are going to be raised. And, we were put in that position to try and figure out a solution. And that's what we did with raising some of these fees to make sure that we're maintaining our parks so that we have them for future generations. And I understand there will be people that, would like it a lot less and would like it to, not to be raised. But, in order to maintain these facilities, we need to be able to have a way of doing that. And that's what some of these fees are for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
An idea, I know it's very sensitive, but would you consider privatizing the golf course to refund? I know
We don't manage the golf course. If you have an idea about the golf course, I take it up with the Board of Supervisors
There's a board for the golf.
it's a board.
and
it's
the
not
golf
a board,
committee.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm saying that there's a whole history of that, but
18 holes of pickleball.
All right, where were we on the policies? We just talked, so we need to make a motion, right?
Yes.
Sure.
We don't need
Absolutely.
to, but if someone so chooses.
Can we make a motion to approve the proposed pickleball policies?
Yes.
No, I'm making them. Yeah, you made the motion. right?
Are you making the motion?
I
or
just,
you
I just, I just, I'm making,
asked- you were
I'd like
asking
to
if
make,
Dan waited.
I'd like to make a motion.
Taking my
to,
job, brother.
I really don't. I'd like to make a motion to, approve the pickleball policies. Well, there you go.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any comment, further comment? If none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
All-
Was that Kim?
Kim was.
Jim and
Yes,
Rob both said
aye.
All right, approved.
All right, great. And actually, you reminded me about the filters for the pool. We did to get a new filter for the lap pool, and we had the painting done. So that is being installed this week. So last minute, a little bit, it's a little scary. One thing that we did have trouble with is the slide maintenance this year. So it's not going to happen before Memorial Day. It'll likely happen after, and that's a lot to do with the rain. And we are going to be using a different vendor this year because we were unhappy with the last 2 years' service. So we wanted to take a look at another vendor. So that I'm hoping to get approved in the next, as soon as possible, the new vendor, so that we can move forward with the project. And the goal is to have it done before we're open full hours of the pool.
Does that restrict the slides prior to that being done? Or-
The goal is to have the slides open. We'll just test them every day beforehand. And as soon as we can get them done, we'll get them done. So I just wanted you to know that is a situation that we're dealing with. So that is coming soon. All of our staff training is going on. We had a little bit of trouble. The heater broke this year. So we're patching that next year. That will need a full replacement. This year, it's going to work for the year. And so because the heater is not working, because we've been getting significant rain, our staff usually trains a week and a half before we open the pool, which is coming up. We're going to partner with Pennsbury because the filter is not done, the heater is not done. We're partnering with Pennsbury School District in order to use their field or their pool to do our training. So we're working through that right now with them. So they've been very gracious to work with us. So we're excited for that partnership. So just wanted to share with you because I feel like we've been partnering more and more with Pennsbury School District over time. They've been community champions. We've been able to use Edwards School last year. I know the leagues have been having a lot more luck partnering with them on some projects. So I don't know if it's orchestrated luck or not, but it is working and things are happening in partnership with the school district. So I want to make sure to make a point of saying that publicly in a meeting. So that's that. And that's all I have to report on today.
You, Monica. I'm going to go back to agenda item 3 is a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Does anybody want to make a motion for the approval of meeting minutes from April 9th?
I moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any comments from the board? Any public comments? If none, call the vote. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from?
Aye.
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 Kim?
Aye.
Oh, okay.
My mute button's stuck.
I didn't see your lips move, so. Any other agenda items? Any other public comment? If none, call the meeting to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.